'cause your stare won't ever let me go. I'm here only 'cause I'm aware with you is better than all alone. Oh, 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 say what you're dying to say. No, oh, tonight we're stars, but we'll fade away. Go on and light me up, oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up, oh, come on and light me up before we come down. Stars will always come down, so before we come down, down, down. Go on and light me up, oh, go on and light me up while we're golden. Come on and light me up, oh, come on and light me up before we come down.
Hello everybody and welcome into race number 10 of season 5 for Tuesday Night Thunder. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Again, I know we've said it the last couple weeks, but for anybody that is new or just tuning in this week, Dawson Wise normally would be up here joining us in the booth. However, he has committed most of the second half of the season to getting down there and running some of these laps and some of the races with these guys on track. So we will see him in the race here tonight instead of up here in the booth with us. Qualifying is complete. Drivers are getting gridded up. So let's head right down trackside without any further ado and take a look at tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole, one of the Coke Series drivers, it's going to be Malik Ray, puts down a 50.745. Garrett Maines, another one of the Coke Series drivers, will start to his outside in second. And then it's Ethan Eckert back in third with Andrew Navarro to his outside in fourth. Joe Herta rolls off from the fifth spot here tonight for the Jack Shack. Jeff Merck back in sixth with Richard Elliott in seventh. Matthew Baker back in eighth with Matt Lee in ninth. And it's Michael Triscaro for NBG Motorsports rounding out your top 10. Moving on back to row number 6, it's going to be Dawson Wise, the number 9, with Landon Velicki in the 62 for Nightmare Esports to his outside in 12th. Jared Haynes back in 13th. Devin Ray for the Jack Shack in 14th. Then you've got John Mullihan from McCullough Motorsports back in 15th with Mike Davenport in 16th. Logan York will roll off 17th tonight here in the O2. Dylan Jones back in 18th. And it's D3 Daniel Edelhart rolling off from the 19th spot, and Evan Carlbon rounding out your top 20. Joshua McCullough will start 21st. Brock Westmoreland back in 22nd. And then it's the two McCullough Motorsports captains, Christopher McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr., rounding out row number 12. And rounding out the field here tonight, 25th, Christopher Carter, 26th, Steve Sizemore. And 27th is going to be Jimmy Emos. All right, we are at the World Center of Racing Daytona International Speedway for race 10 as we continue to get closer and closer to getting to the playoffs for this season. Again, season 5, and here tonight we're in the same series we've been in the entire season, and that is the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 60 laps going to be the distance at 40% fuel. Throw a stage break in there at the end of lap 20. You got 3 sets of tires, no fast repair, so you got to be conservative early. And looking at track length, Daytona International Speedway a little bit shorter than Talladega, going to be 2.5 miles, over 30 degrees of banking in the corners. And track temp tonight, pretty hot, 120 degrees starting. That means grip is going to be an issue. We'll see how these guys are able to handle that, especially as tires start to wear out and grip levels continue to go down. All right, do want to get a brief announcement just before we get going here. Good to see everybody in the chat. And just a reminder here that this will be the last broadcast of the week, at least on my end. Won't be covering OP tomorrow, PGR, or the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series on Friday, because we will be out of commission for Hurricane Helene here. So hopefully everything goes smooth with that. We're back up and running as soon as possible. But for everybody else in Florida, especially on the West Coast, hopefully that you are safe and getting yourself ready, as it is going to be a brutal one. All right, here we go. Field is going to be put in the hands here of Malik Ray and Garrett Maines. Couple new schemes and a couple of drivers that are hungry for a win. Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Daytona. Malik Ray already with some trouble as he immediately jumps to the apron here. We got more trouble further back. One in the grass. The field clearly isn't going here, so there's some sort of a holdup here. What that holdup is going to be the question. We talked about, saw Logan York dive through the grass. He's going to work his way back on track. But clearly there's a reason here they didn't go. I'm not sure if they're waiting on somebody. Yeah, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Waiting on two different cars, Christopher McCullough and Daniel Eberhardt. So I would assume these guys will either line up and go down the backstretch or potentially go another lap around. But since they didn't extend the caution, I think my guess would be that they're getting ready to go here probably sometime as they work onto the backstretch. So watch and take a listen here for these engines to roar to life, as that's when these guys will be kind of the signal to get going, get the green flag in the air. There's Jimmy Emos, as he will fall back to the back of this group and then get himself lined up. And so here we go. Garrett Maines, Malik Ray. By the way, you see the two new banners on the front of those cars, and we talked about a little bit of a different scheme and manufacturer for that matter for Garrett Maines and the 12. So those two Coke Series drivers going to be running in the Contender Series this season. So we'll be keeping an eye on Malik Ray and Garrett Maines and those official iRacing series, as well as, of course, Tuesday Night Thunder, a series that Malik Ray said if he would have known about it at the start of the season, heck, he would have been racing it from the get-go. And speaking of get-go, here we go. You hear the engines roaring to life as green flag is now officially in the air. Malik Ray is going to lead him off towards turn number 3, as Garrett Maines, not sure if he got caught sleeping or if it was a little bit of kind of the drivers behind him that maybe got caught sleeping. Either way, they'll stay 2x2 off of turn 4. It's going to take these cars probably about all the way till the exit of turn 2 before they fully generated all the momentum that they're going to need to get both of these lines moving. And so far, so good. Malik Ray quickly going to work up to the top of the racetrack. Now he's going to drop back down, though, into turn number 1. Garrett Maines had a run, got to the back bumper of the 1. Malik must not have liked something about it, or just felt like the block was maybe going to be just a little bit too risky for his liking right now. Boy, you can see a couple of them already fishtailing around a little bit after they'll stack up, as Ethan Eckert delivering all the push on the inside. You know, he's going to be one of the most aggressive pushers in the series. Meanwhile, you've got Andrew Navarro, another one of the Contender Series drivers, as he runs on the outside pushing Garrett Maines. Still no third line just yet. We talked about the stage break on lap 20. We talk about it every week. It seems to be the driving force behind all the aggression that we see in this series, especially in the early portions of the race when we expect things to usually be relatively calm, but usually doesn't end up being the case. As of right now, though, here tonight, it certainly is a little bit further back. The 34, Michael Triscaro, a little bit of a different color scheme for him tonight, as he has started the promotion for the PGR 500. That's a good-looking white, red, and black scheme for Michael Triscaro, as he still looks to try to make his first appearance in victory lane this season here for Tuesday Night Thunder. He's going to need a little bit of luck on his side here tonight, because, boy, we all know that he has just not had any of it over the course of the last few weeks. See if maybe that new scheme is a little bit of a change of pace here tonight for Michael Triscaro. 3 wide now, as on the high side, that's the 60 of Jeff Merck for NBG Motorsports. Look at the run that he's got now, as he'll try to get clear. Not quite going to happen. As, boy, they're really getting out of shape towards the middle portions of the pack. We almost had a few of them go around right there. They all hold on to it, though. Now Devin Ray in the middle. Logan York's going to drop in just behind him. Seeing a lot of Toyota Supras in the field here tonight. There they go. Big one is Andrew Navarro hard into the outside wall. Multiple other cars going to spin down below the apron. Landon Veliky's in it, as is Jared Haynes. Jeff Merck's got damage. But it's the 44 of Andrew Navarro whose night will come to an end here before it really ever gets a chance to even get started. As with just 4 laps complete, that car is junk. And for Andrew Navarro, he's going to try to limp this thing back to the pits, but I don't even know if he's going to make it that far. Look at the damage on the front, the rear, pretty much everywhere in between. He's got smoke coming out the back. It's a miracle that it's even rolling right now. As you see the hood barely hanging on. And he took a massive, massive shot into that outside safer barrier here, as the wreck all unfolded coming off of 2. And, you know, the last lap and a half to 2 laps, these guys had started getting a little bit sketchy, especially once they got 3 wide. And again, Daytona not nearly as wide as it is at Talladega. So we expect to see, you know, it be a little bit sketchier. But what happens here that makes it all go wrong? Is it going to be some contact between Merck and Navarro? Boy, it's going to be something, netcode or contact, that sends that 44 into the wall. And then look at it, wedge that car up into the air before he lands on top of the safer barrier, and then eventually swaps ends and tank slaps the wall. But let's go to the chopper view here and see if this gives us a little bit of a better shot. Exactly what happened right here. Ooh, that is going to be a little bit of netcode, As watch the 60 and the 44. Now, again, Jeff Merck, his job right here is just simply run as low as you can. The lower he runs, the closer he runs to that middle lane, the more of a side draft he'll get on them, and the quicker the progress will be for this third lane. So that's what he's doing. He's trying to grab a side draft. He's not necessarily all that close. Now, it almost does look like maybe Navarro actually bobbles up just a little bit, as it looks like right there, you see Merck's left side tires below that seam just a little bit. They don't go down anymore. If anything, maybe they creep up a little bit. So like I said, it might be Navarro was slightly inching up, but even if he was, there wasn't going to be contact, and there shouldn't have been contact here. As watch it again here. They don't touch right there. The game thinks they're making contact, and as soon as it does, it just sends Andrew Navarro immediately hard into that outside safer barrier. That's what lifts that car up off the ground and immediately smokes the engine and the suspension. Man, and just that's a tough break for everybody involved, but especially Navarro, who, we always, kind of rant on him about being the smartest driver in the series. And I mean, he's being smart. He's running conservative up here in terms of not doing anything wrong, minding his own. Jeff Merck kind of in the same boat. And unfortunately, a little bit of netcode cost them both potentially a race car and a chance to win here tonight after putting themselves in position via qualifying in the early portions of this race to get to the front. As there's that big hit again for Andrew Navarro. And then we'll go back and look at this incident for Jeff Merck and some of the others involved. As you see the 60 spun around, he got tagged, I believe, at least once. It might have been a couple times actually here for Jeff Merck that he gets hit. Watch it from the outside view as he's going to come off of Andrew Navarro's door, and then, he does get tagged, I believe. Oh, man, you got to hope that wasn't Michael Triscaro, but I have a bad feeling it may have been here. Although maybe not. The 34 looks to be pretty clean right there. And that means that the only other car that has a similar paint scheme to that was Mike Davenport. Yeah, that's who it was. Mike Davenport, you can see he's got some suspension damage as well from this hit. Watch for Davenport here as Merck's going to kind of start to come down, just trying to avoid the wreck, and he's going to have nowhere to go. Watch this. Show you the zoomed in view. Dawson Wise dives low. He's able to miss it. Mullihan's going to somehow shoot the middle here, it looks like. But then for Davenport, pretty hefty contact. You see Landon Velicki making a slide to the inside wall as well. He's going to get into Jared Haynes. That kind of helps turn both of those cars back to the right, though, so neither of them go into the inside safer barrier. But the first wreck of the night strikes down the super stretch here with just about 4 laps complete at the time of caution. I do want to give you one more angle of this here from the backstretch view. And this will show you exactly kind of what it looks like and how quick things can happen. So there's the big hit for Andrew Navarro as he slides by, and then the chaos and the scramble out back to miss a wreck at Daytona. One of the hardest things to do, almost harder than actually running 3 and 4 wide here. I say 4 wide, that might be a bit of a stretch, but point is, part of the talent level, if you will, at least in my opinion, that comes with these super speedways, isn't only how well you can drive in the race, but how well you can avoid wrecks, because they are a big part of the challenge when we come to these super speedways. So back up front, lights on the pace car are off. That means that we will be going back to green flag racing this time. You've got Malik Ray and Garrett Maines up front leading the pack, and then it's 2 of the Jack Shack boys, Joe Herda and Devin Ray in the second row. Ethan Eckert and Richard Elliott back in row number 3. And so they'll go back green here, and it's going to put us at, looks like, right about 13 laps to go in the stage. And that's the point now where everybody should be good to go on fuel. So wouldn't expect any green flag pit stop anymore, of course, through this first stage. And we'll see some during that final stage, which will be more so probably around a 35-lap run to the finish. So that means we might be getting ready to see this aggression level pick up, even though we just saw an incident, because everybody knows they're good on fuel now. That means that if you want to get stage points, you're going to have to battle for a track position. All right, so here we go. Going to work out of turn 4. Watch for the pace car to make that dive down towards the inside of the racetrack. As, boy, what a race we had last week. I mean, you think back to that one. That was a thriller. And it just, all it continues to do is make things more interesting for not only who's going to make the playoffs, but who's going to be that regular season champion. Garrett Maines, Matt Lee, Matthew Baker, the 3 big names that come to mind as of right now. We'll see how that kind of develops here after these stage points are awarded, and based off who, of course, can get the job done here tonight. Green flag is back in the air. 8 of 60 laps complete here at Daytona, and it's a good restart for the one of Malik Ray. He's quickly going to be able to get out to a lead And we'll see if he decides to jump up here or if he's content to ride on the bottom. Joe Herta is going to see if he can push this one car far enough ahead to where he can jump out himself. Potentially slot up in front of the 12 of Garrett Maines. Nothing doing just yet. The outside still trying to find some organization. Devin Ray doesn't have any help behind him, and as a result, he has still not been able to get to the back bumper of Garrett Maines just yet. And he'll finally arrive on scene right about halfway down the super stretch, but not before opening the door up and the opportunity for Joe Herta to potentially jump to the outside. Looks like he thought better of it, though. And so as you see the name there, the little pinstripe name, if you will, just above the driver's net, J-Money. I like the nickname for Joe Herta. Boy, hey, he's cashed out a couple times this season, so it sticks, but let's see if J-Money can get the job done here tonight. So still 2x2, Malik Ray. Boy, he jumped up to the top. He knew Garrett had fresh temps to push, but man, tell you what, when you hop up in front of a guy, even when you're just controlling lanes, you know you're going to get a big surge and a big push from out back, and that's really the sketchiest part about it is, oh man, Joe Herta, that was a close call for the one car as he almost got hooked around right there by Ethan Eckert. Oh, he almost gets hooked around again. The 12 car continues to push, and the one car is not receiving those pushes very well at the moment. And you know, this is kind of that point in the race where we talk about it, and I feel like, and again, I'm not down there racing with these guys anymore, so my opinion is not nearly as valid as what some of the drivers would say, but I just feel like from watching it up here in the booth over really the last year, from the time when I started money racing a couple of years ago and used to do it a lot more, I just feel like the way some of these guys work now, their mindset is, if you're up front, I'm just going to push as hard as I can. If you can't handle it, it's on you, instead of what kind of felt like used to be the mindset of, if you're the pusher, it's your job to make sure that you push the guy without wrecking him, and if you're going to wreck him, you just don't push him. But it seems like that change of mindset has led to at least a couple of the big incidents we've seen in some of these series throughout the weeks and the seasons. But just an interesting note, thought I'd make a brief comment on, is we see Devin Ray getting a little bit out of hand there on the high side. He's going to hold on to it, though, as he'll now give another shot to the back at Garrett Maines as they work up into the tri-oval. Malik Ray still leads the inside as we're now officially over the halfway point here in stage number 1. Third lane trying to get work in all the way towards the back, as it looks like that's Logan York up there above the seam trying to get something happening. And he's going to need some more help. Question is going to be, does anybody give it to him? If Dawson Wise jumps back or in front, he could potentially think about moving up. John Mullahan, we know he likes running on the front row, but right now sits a little bit further back. Would he be the man to potentially jump up? Doesn't look like it. In fact, it's going to be neither of those two. You'll have to look all the way back to the 05 of Joshua McCullough as the first car that's actually going to go with the 02 of Logan York. He'll try to push him, but now looks like Logan's going to go ahead and slot back in line for now. And Matthew Baker was our first driver cam here of the night, but looks like, I don't know if he intended for the driver cam to do that or not. Either way, he's got it facing the dashboard. I don't know if Baker can hear us, but Baker, we can already see that. All we got to do is hop on board. Either way, though, for Matthew Baker right now, he's going to try to be the one to lead this third line, and they're charged towards the front. Just in front of him, Michael Triscaro. I say just in front, I should say just behind, rather, the 34 rolling on the inside right now. And Michael Triscaro, the driver out of Chagrin Falls, Ohio, still trying to grab that first elusive win of the season. He's came so close so many times, but still no luck, at least not as of yet. And then right now, running in the middle of the pack, a little bit further back after being involved in that first incident, and unfortunately lapped down, as I meant to say, in the middle of the second pack, is Jeff Merck. You can see he's still got damage on the front nose of that Chevy Camaro, so he's going to have to continue to get it fixed, and to do that, he's going to need a caution, so he's probably hoping that we can get to this first stage clean, because as it stands right now, he is in that lucky dog position, assuming he doesn't lose another lap, or that nobody else goes a lap down here before we get to the stage break. 3x3 down the super stretch. Up top, Matthew Baker leads the high side with a push from Logan York. Looks like Daniel Eberhardt in the 90 is trying to get up there to help these two, but just not enough momentum, as now it looks like the 90 is going to have to drop back in line. Malik Ray will move up to the middle. This is going to hurt that third lane, as now they'll really start to drop off of turn 4. And for Logan York, I mean, even if he's pushing with for all it's worth, he's going to run out of temps eventually. When he does, and as soon as he gets disconnected, if you don't have that third car in line to kind of help keep that second car tucked up to the leader, that's what's going to happen. You're just going to fade every time you get disconnected. And And so they're still waiting for some help from somebody here, either Devin Ray to jump up or somebody a little bit further back to jump in line behind them. As there goes, looks like, was that the 77 machine jumping to the bottom of the racetrack? I believe that was the 71, actually, of Evan Carlbon, who's got a good run going so far here tonight. He's up 8 positions from where he started this race at. See him going by the 55 there. That's Mike Davenport, one of the cars involved in that first incident of the night. And so he's still got damage that is working on getting repaired. All right, so when they cross the line now, it'll be 15 of 60 laps complete, and that leaves us with just 6 laps now to go on the stage. The 2 number 1 cars on the bottom of the racetrack right now. Garrett Means in the middle. Malik Ray on the bottom. Matthew Baker up top. They are still hanging as tough as they can. Oh, man, that's another big bobble there for Devin Ray and Malik Ray, who maybe had some slight contact there. Malik's going to take advantage, though, as he's able to save it. Jumps up, and out Garrett's going to do the same. That's going to leave Malik Ray with really nowhere to go here as they rocket down the back. He'll give a big shot to the back bumper of Garrett Means' MCU body Toyota Supra. And they have finally got the help they've been looking for up top. Christopher McCullough and Dawson Wise have jumped up there. And they don't have to be super close. The closer the better, but just them being up there should help this third lane start to prosper a little bit more now as we come to 5 laps to go on the stage. Logan York, you saw him quickly dart in line there just behind Devin Ray. And you got to wonder if he maybe ran out of temps. We'll see if he jumps up here in front of Matthew Baker. That would be kind of my assumption, at least thought. That's what the O2 was thinking, but it appears not. And so Matthew Baker probably saying to himself, I'll remember that later if you try to jump up in front of me, Logan. But that third lane just not as strong as we would have expected, at least at this point, especially when you consider what the track temp was starting this race and what it is at now, up a degree from where we started, now at 121 Fahrenheit. So again, the track temp's definitely there to wear out tires, make these cars hard to handle, and of course get engine temps hotter a lot quicker. That's usually the recipe for that third lane, but so far, no cigar yet for anybody that's tried it. Logan York jumped back out. Matt Lee initially followed, but he quickly darted back in line. York's going to stay committed, though. He'll await some help here from Matthew Baker and Christopher McCullough. And you look at some of the drivers that really need stage points for some of the ones that necessarily don't. Malik Ray, he's not here for stage points. He could care less. If there's no payout, it's not going to matter to him. He is only running each race at this point for the individual payouts, as he is not eligible for the season championship. If your Garrett Main stage points are everything, continue to try to stretch that gap and pull away to potentially grab the regular season championship. That is a lot of money, too, for the driver that gets that regular season championship. And you got to remember that there are bonus points for doing different things here. I don't know if it's... Oh, man, Joe Herta, he gets knocked out of line. Hold on to it, Joe. Is he going to shuffle back up in front of Eckert? Yes, he will. That's going to stall the momentum out, though, but it's inside as Garrett Mains will lose the lead now. Malik Ray is going to go to the point just briefly, but Matt Lee hanging strong on the third lane. They are 3 wide off into turn number 1, and some of the field now starting to see that and starting to hang back a little bit. That's the 3 of Ken McCullough Jr., Dylan Jones, Daniel Eberhardt just behind him, and 2 more of the McCullough Motorsports drivers, Chris and Josh, in front of them. They are all going to single file out as they see this 3 wide action, and they must not like what they see. They're going to stay back here and either pit or potentially just ride here until we get to the end of the stage. When they cross the line this time around, it'll be 2 laps to go, and you've still got Garrett Mains and Malik Ray up front. 2 fast cars, and oh, there they go. They're going to wreck. Ethan Eckert will get turned around. Caution is out. Trouble in the tri-oval here on lap 19. And big trouble, too, for quite a few drivers as they all scatter and scramble. And now we'll see what the wreckage is looking like for some of the drivers involved. Saw Richard Elliott there. He had some rear end damage. Saw Logan York, I thought, get turned. And yeah, he must have, because he certainly got some rear end damage as well. And so this will bring an end to the caution here before we actually, or excuse me, this caution will bring an end to the stage, rather, before we actually make it to the scheduled distance. And so as the field now catches back up to the pace car, let's go back and take a look here at where it all goes wrong, coming off of turn 4 through the short chute and into the trial. But let's watch it first from the chopper view, as we had a couple cars getting turned out of line here. Watch up top. Logan York's coming to the back bumper of Matt Lee here, and I think he's just going to get him slightly offset some way. Boy, if he did, it had to be barely. I mean, from that view, you can see as he's getting close to him here, he's trying to get him set up, but by the time he gets there, it certainly looks like he's got him pretty set up, but when he hits him, that push just sends the 04 slightly down, gets him into John Mullahan and Matthew Baker. And then Baker's going to get down into Ethan Eckert here. That's going to turn the 12 back up the track. York gets clipped. He goes around. Richard Elliott gets tagged. Big hit. And the trial just before the start-finish line for Matt Lee and Richard Elliott. And then it looks like for everybody else, it's going to be, for the most part at least, just going through the grass. No major damage there. I think Richard Elliott arguably gets the worst of this one there as he gets turned, and then bam, big hit. Boy, that car almost got lifted up into the catch fence. With where that contact occurred, that could have been a whole lot worse there for Richard Elliott. Lucky with the way it panned out, all things considered. Let's watch this again. There's Eckert getting turned. Richard Elliott almost sneaks by, but he's going to get tagged here. Car starts to bounce and then gets tagged right as it does. And look at it lift up, lands just on top of the safer barrier, and gets back on all four on the racetrack before any further damage is done. You see Dawson Wise and Steve Sizemore both go through the grass, as did Ken McCullough Jr. and multiple others, to avoid getting involved and getting any damage in this one. Give you a view there from the starter cam. Show you a little bit of kind of what he saw through this. I mean, you kind of knew it was just a matter of time. I know we had that early caution, but you could feel this one brewing too with just all the pushing they were doing. You come into the end of the stage, you kind of have to, but again, that risk versus reward for any drivers that could have race ending or at least chances of winning a race ending damage. They're going to be thinking back to themselves, was it worth it, or should I have maybe just stayed back and played a conservative right now? Back that view up for you again here, and watch to see the drivers that actually sneak through this one here as the initial contact occurs. Dawson Wise hard on the brakes. He did actually have a little bit of contact there, it looked like, on second glance. Dawson Wise, that is. As you saw everybody else pretty much shoot to the inside. Steve Sizemore, he was able to get around. So let's go to the onboard view here for Dawson Wise, and I'll show you that slight contact and then how he was able to ultimately maneuver through the rest of this incident. So he sees it. He's on the brakes, on the brakes, on the brakes, but just some slight left front contact to Eckert as he wasn't quite able to get fully checked up in time. And then now it's just bobbing and weaving left and right to make sure that he doesn't get any further damage from what he already sustained. Final look at this one here from the pits as all that chaos unfolds right in front of the camera crew. So there goes Richard Elliott up the travel. There's that massive hit. Man, all four tires actually got off the ground for that car where he slid across the line and was able to get back rolling. So as we go back up front, 20 to 60 laps now complete. Joe Herta being scored as your leader, Malik Ray second. And then it's going to be Garrett Maines back in third with Evan Carbon fourth, and John Mullihan currently rounding out your top five. The bigger question, though, of course, is who is your stage winner? Well, let's go back and play it for you here in slow motion, at least as slow as we can get, and try to decipher that. Looks like it was a Malik Ray, Garrett Maines on the front row at the time of caution here. Let's see when that caution does indeed come out here. Watching for it, watching for it. Still nothing yet. Still nothing, still nothing. Waiting to see some caution lights and a there you go. All right, so we'll back that up one more time for you here. Right here. Let's see, do we have anybody that's decisively out in front at the moment? Yes, we do. Malik Ray. So it looks like Malik Ray should be your stage winner, as he was out in front at the time of caution that brought us under the stage end, assuming that is indeed how Race Control decides to score it. And so there you go. All right, so the lights again are off on the pace car. We're getting ready to go back green, and this will set us up for, looks like, about a somewhere right around a 38 to 39 lap shootout to the finish. I say shootout, but that's still a pretty long ways here at a track that's 2.5 miles long per lap. By the way, if you're just tuning in, of course, we appreciate you being here. Joe Herta, good to see you in here. Devin Ray, Baker's mom. Trevor Osmernoff says, give him hell. Mark Blundell says, let's go, guys. Wish I was there. Mark Math says, ban lol. Again, do appreciate everybody tuning in here on this Tuesday night, Tuesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, wherever you are in the country. Tuesday Night Thunder, we still got to talk about points here. We'll give these guys a chance to break in some green flag laps. And by the way, that next green flag pit stop, and what will be the first green flag stop of the night, I think we're expecting somewhere, let's see, 40% fuel again with these cars. Changes a little bit each week based off which track we're at, Daytona or Talladega. But I would say probably somewhere right around 16 laps, 16 to 18 laps at the most would be my general guess. If we want to make that window a little wider, we'll say 15 to 18 laps. That's when we would expect that next pit stop. And so that would be somewhere right around that 37, 38 from now, as the green flag is now back in the air. Good restart for Joe Herta. He will lead the field off towards turn number one. Malik Ray and Garrett Maines going to slot in line behind him. And you've got the 71 of Evan Carlbahn looking to lead this high side here. He jumps back into the bottom for now. We'll see if he decides to go high. This is a big opportunity here for the 71 of Carlbahn, but it looks like he's not going to take it. A bit of a surprise there from the 71 to not jump up when he had the chance to. Garrett Main says, if you won't, I certainly will. Joe Herta is going to have to jump up top. He'll try to cover this push from the 12, and boy, that push almost sent the one car around. That is not the first time we've seen that tonight. Michael Triscaro, he sees that, so he'll now move to the high side. Brock Westmoreland going to bail out. He'll let the 34 fall back in place. Devin Ray has to check up as well as a result. And then a little bit of three-wide action towards the back as Daniel Eberhardt, D3, is trying to fade all the way towards the back. And he'll have to shuffle down to the middle and now the bottom lane as you see Jeff Merck cutting it up three wide through the middle just behind that. He's got Jared Haynes there, Christopher Carter in the 25. He's hanging around as well. For Chris, he's picked up 21 positions from where he started at tonight. Christopher Carter still looking for his first win of the season. See if maybe tonight's his night. He's got himself in a good spot right now, and good looking paint scheme on that number 25 car. Logan York, Landon Velicky, two cars who have been involved in incidents here tonight, trying to help him get back towards the front. Is, oh boy, we almost have our third incident right there. John Mullahan got punted off the racetrack. Now he's trying to merge back on. The question's going to be, does anybody let him do so? And it looks like they will. Richard Elliott is going to try to split through the middle. And boy, that double zero car, or rather just the single zero car, for the amount of damage he got, that's not that bad, all things considered, to be running this good after an incident that he was pretty much just involved in. So tip of the cap there to Richard Elliott as they still run 2x2. Now it looked like Elliott may have been blinking around there just a little bit as Michael Triscaro takes another peek at a line. He thought about maybe trying to get that third lane going, but he thinks better of it. Garrett Main still on this high side. Look how close he's running to the inside, trying to get any sort of side draft he can as, almost maybe makes some contact there with Malik Ray. Now he'll try to size Herta up for another push. Notice how much that one car moves around when Garrett Mains gets to his back bumper. And this is where it's really, really dicey, is when you start thinking about pushing through the tri-oval and in the corners. We see certain guys try it and certain guys don't. And if you're going to do it, you've got to be perfect. Joe Herta was trying to cover a move there that Garrett made to the inside, but he wasn't quite able to do it, as the one is now stuck up top. Here comes Christopher McCullough, though, as watch for Garrett Mains to maybe jump up to cover a run here if he sees one on the outside. Nothing doing just yet. Looks like the one car content to stay down low as they rocket off the super stretch into turn number 3. Joe Herta still side by side for the lead. Remember, last time Joe was in this position, got turned around, took a heavy hit into the outside wall last week. Hoping that that does not happen again. Meanwhile, a little bit towards the back here, we're going to get this third lane going yet again. Dawson Wise, Matthew Baker jumped out. Looks like Ethan Eckert saw that. Now he's going to try to do the same. And it may not work out here very well for Eckert, because looks like Baker bailed, and now that'll leave just Dawson Wise. Two cars not going to be enough to get that momentum going, at least not as of yet. Christopher McCullough, though, he's going to jump up, though, now as the 94 either maybe got helped out of line, wanted to drop to the back, or potentially wanted to try to get with this third lane. Either way, he's in the thick of it now, because Ethan Eckert sees an opportunity to get this entire line going to the front, and that's exactly what he's going to try to do. He'll push the back bumper of Christopher McCullough here as they work off towards turn 3, and now he's going to try to get locked on into the corner. Boy, I'm just not a big fan of all the corner pushing this early on. It's just, it gets you so nervous. Again, if everybody had a fast spare, I'm all for it, but man, every time you see it, I feel like we see a wreck that just doesn't happen because they all save it, but they can only save it so many times here. As right there it goes. Just as I said it, they're going to wreck them up big time here into turn number 1. How many is this going to collect? They're piling in big out back. And that's the big one in turn number 1. And it was a push gone wrong, it looked like, to Christopher McCullough that sparked it, as the 94 got down the track, and it was on from there. Logan York, heavy damage. Looks like Landon Velicky, I believe that is. He might have some heavy damage as well. Sure enough, he does. Daniel Eberhardt's got some rear end damage. And Dylan Jones, you see his right front is locked up. So he's going to have to go in. This might take out a couple more big names here tonight. As again, we're not even to the halfway point of this race, and we've already seen a few of these big incidents here in the relatively early going here. Let's go back and watch this. It all again starts with Christopher McCullough here, and we'll go all the way back to where that 94 car was running at the time of contact. And I mean, for Chris here, he's just trying to do what he can here out front. You've got Ethan Eckert behind him here, and watch what happens as Eckert's going to get to his back bumper here, and I think he's just going to give him a little bit of a bad shot. Watch it here. Notice how he's a little bit offset right. That might be your key issue right there. Yeah, sure enough. So basically, this is what happens right here. I'm going to slow this down even more for you here if I can. Well, maybe not slow it down, but certainly zoom it in a little bit more. So watch here. You see the 12 of Eckert. He's relatively center, but he's just slightly offset to the right. And so he goes to push Chris, and that slight offset to the right hooks the 94 slightly to the right, which gets Chris into that outside safer barrier. And now Eckert, you know, of course, not expecting that to happen. There's a little bit of a speed difference now between the 94 and the 12, with the 94 scrubbing off speed after tagging the outside wall. And now also, that's got Eckert offset to the left. He's not able to get off of Chris, and when he hits him in the left, that's kind of the finishing blow right there as it sends the 94 down the track into Joe Herta. Herta tries to save it. It looked like maybe they almost did here. In fact, wow, look at that. Joe Herta did save it. He was actually just out back as well to Chaos was, and some of the big hits that we saw. And you got a feel for Christopher McCullough, and oh man, Michael Trascaro, he was involved in this as well. And the streak of rough weeks continues for the 34. You know, and as a driver, when you almost start to go into the races feeling like you're going to wreck, boy, it is not a fun feeling, but that's kind of what it's been. Michael Trascaro, just this guy cannot catch a break. And you see Devin Ray, he's wheeling and dealing on the apron, as is Evan Carlbon, who I believe might have saved that car. It was a close call from there, whether or not Carlbon was able to hold on to it. Let's see here. Do they wreck up front or does he save it? He does save it. Nicely done by Carlbon there to hold on. As we go back and show you a couple more views of this incident that took out majority the back half of the field here. From TV2, there they all go. Richard Elliott somehow sneaks by for the most part. But then that second wave of cars, I don't know what happened. They didn't quite get the memo in time or what, but there were some really, really heavy hits there. You see Jared Haynes, he was also torn up severely in that incident. And so go back and see if we can't get a couple of looks through this. First up, though, I did want to go on board here with Richard Elliott, if we can here, as he was in the back of this incident and had a pretty good view of how it all unfolded in front of him. So here you go. Sees it hard on the brakes, checking up, sneaks through the first one. Now he's got to try to keep it off Sizemore, which it looks like he did a pretty good job of. And again, minimize the damage that he could have sustained there with as bad as that wreck, with as bad as that wreck looked like it was initially going to be. And give you two more angles or so before we go back live here. As there's Davenport and Veliky piling in. Dawson Wise, who was sliding around the racetrack. They had nowhere to go. So Michael Trascaro, we mentioned one of the drivers who we think got the worst of this one here. But there's a handful of them that have damage that I would argue is maybe not necessarily repairable here. At least not for the rest of this race. Let's give you one more shot here. Let's go to the turn one cam. Remember, with that no fast repair, if you see the hoods flying and the suspension broken, those are the cars that are realistically probably going to be done, at least with the competitive shot at this race. Is up front. Lights go off on the pace car. You see a lot of cars still working out of the pits here. As Landon Veliky still with a ton of damage, but he was able to make it out. So you've got Garrett Maines being scored as your leader. Richard Elliott's in second after making it through that last wreck. Matthew Baker in third. Joe Herta fourth. Christopher McCullough fifth with Christopher Carter in sixth. Then you've got Devin Ray back in seventh. Looks like Jimmy Emos in 8th. He's up 19 positions from where he started this race at. Evan Carlbon in 9th. And Malik Ray currently rounding out your top 10. Trevor Osmond says, how'd that test go, Austin? Ooh, boy, it was not a good one. It was not too fun. We got it done. We passed. That's all that matters. But, boy, it was pretty brutal. Nonetheless, though, as we get ready to go back to green flag racing, looks like it is Garrett Maines who has either been between him and Malik Ray for who's led the most laps here tonight. And now that we are officially at the halfway point, that's going to turn this race into what should be a one-stopper from here. We'll see if that indeed holds true, but that's what I would expect, is that they go about 15 laps or so. They pit, they take enough fuel to make it to the end, and then we see these guys really battle it out. So now we are at the point where I wonder if maybe they try to calm the aggression level down a little bit, just tick off some laps and see if maybe we can't get to that green flag stop. As Don Merckx says, just got here. What did I miss? See Merck a lap down. Well, Don, unfortunately, it's probably more of what you expect with Jeff Merck and the luck he's had this season in Tuesday Night Thunder. He was involved in an early incident, got damaged. That's what got himself trapped a lap down. And so now Jeff is just waiting to try to get back on the lead lap. The good news, though, is that damage is fixed. So at least for now, Merck's still with the competitive shot, assuming he can get that lucky dog or free pass. All right, here we go. Back into the restart zone. Green flag in the air. And it's another good restart from the inside line. It looks like Garrett Maines gets the better jump, but the outside going to show a little bit more organization first. Joe Herta quickly to the back bumper of Richard Elliott. Matthew Baker, now he will join in the tandem battle on the inside as he pushes the driver that he spots for in the Contender Series and then, of course, the Coke Series in previous seasons, Garrett Maines. And we saw Garrett actually push Matthew Baker to a PGR win on Thursday. You wonder if Baker's maybe looking to return the favor here tonight? I think probably not, only because in PGR, these guys aren't running for points. Either way, in Tuesday Night Thunder, they certainly are. So they might be friends, but Baker knows at the end of the day, he has got to try whatever he can to beat Garrett Maines here tonight to keep himself in contention for that regular season championship. And stage points were something that were certainly going to be a factor in that as well. As we look at the onboard view now for Matthew Baker, he didn't have it working earlier, but it looks like he has since got it fixed. That's the driver again of the number 5 machine. He's got a good run going right now. The Coasting Thunder Chevy Camaro. Oh, man, that's another really close moment there as Baker drifted up a little bit into the corner. That was as a result of him able to push Garrett Maines up top. And now that Garrett is up top, this will give Baker a chance to cool. Third lane, though, going to get going here. Joe Herta jumps high with Malik Ray, and now it looks like Eckert and Mullahan are going to bail. Joe Herta wants to get back to the front. He ran there before that first incident. Richard Elliott still a little bit of damage now. Devin Ray starting to get out of shape. Hold on to it. Man, oh, man. Oh, we got one getting ready to go around. Christopher McCullough, he's going to lose it. The 94 here, can he save this one? He does. Christopher McCullough holds on. As wow, was that one close. Oh, now we got more trouble up front. 2 of them into the wall. It's a 25 of Christopher Carter. And we got a couple more here. I was trying to figure out who the second one was. It might have been Steve Sizemore. And then Matthew Baker, he went onto the apron as well. Don't see any damage to his car. He's able to get back rolling now. Christopher Carter was one of the 2 cars I saw actually make contact with the outside safer barrier. And whatever it was, Matthew Baker must not have been too happy because I could see him using hand signals here. He looks like he's trying to figure out what the heck just happened here. And so, frustrated, rightfully so. I mean, we just had a caution. Get another one here, and the 5 is involved this time around. All right, so let's back this up and see what happens. I have a feeling this is kind of 2 separate incidents. And so let's go to the one first here that involves Matthew Baker and company as Christopher Carter. Okay, so they're 3 abreast right here. And watch the middle. Matthew Baker's on the bottom by himself. Not sure how exactly that sparked up, but he's by himself on the bottom. And does Christopher Carter just... No, it's nothing Christopher Carter does wrong here. It's something that happens to the 25 from out back, it looks like, where he gets a push. So it looks like at this point right here. So watch Richard Elliott. Watch this. So Richard Elliott and Garrett Maines, they're going to kind of fade to the inside. Right there, it looks like Richard Elliott's going down. Chris is expecting Richard Elliott to go down. But the 00s kind of hang in the middle, and then all of a sudden, Richard Elliott decides to go back up, and I think maybe Chris had to burp the throttle just a little bit to not spin the 0 out. As he does so, Eckert not able to. Eckert gets into the back of the 25. That sends the 25 up the track into Joe Herta, and once he comes back down, that's what sends him into Baker, and gets Baker ultimately turned around. And then Christopher Carter, we saw on the flip side of that, go up the racetrack and got some damage himself as well. Watch this. And I believe, was it Malik Ray who gets collected with here? Yes, it is. Malik Ray was the other car that got hooked together as they both take a pretty hard shot on the outside safer barrier. Steve Sizemore was able to sneak around for Carter. That's a pretty big impact, but I would be maybe arguably a little bit more worried for Malik Ray for potentially suspension damage, as one car hit a little bit more on the front end versus one car that hit a little bit more in the rear end. And watch this here. I say the rear end. I guess I should say the suspension. Watch this here for Chris Carter here, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Listen to his throttle, too. Yeah, you see that, just that ever so slight hiccup. That's either him just bailing out of the throttle briefly, or by Richard Elliott kind of coming back up and chopping his nose off, it kind of forcing that car to briefly slow down. But I think that might have just been him trying to make sure he doesn't turn the 00. And the 00, I should just say the 0. And Richard Elliott Just maybe a little bit of hesitation there on if he wanted to go down with Garrett Maines or if he wanted to stay in the middle. And that just didn't fare well with the rest of the field right there. And it's on from there as we see Baker go down to the apron. He went for a ride. Eckert's got some pretty good front end damage from this as well. But lucky that those were the only 2 cars involved in what could have been certainly a whole lot worse, but wasn't, as it looks like for the most part everybody's going to get away with one this time. All right, so we will go back live now where Christopher Carter still sits in the pits. Meanwhile, up front, Jimmy Emos currently being scored as your leader. Actually, it's Richard Elliott, Jimmy Emos second, and John Mullihan back in third. I think Emos is just fading to the back, though, and so that'll push Devin Ray up to third. It's going to be Garrett Maines in fourth and Evan Carlbon rounding out your top 5. 35 of 60 laps complete. Lights are still on the pace car. And so as we wait to get ready to go back green, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stick with us for the restart at Daytona.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway for race 10 of season 5 here in Tuesday Night Thunder. All right, pace car pulls off. Richard Elliott, John Mullihan will take the restart as it is now 24 laps to go here at Daytona. Good restart. This time, though, it's for the outside. John Mullihan, how about that? He was almost able to pull clear there of Richard Elliott before they got towards turn number 1. Garrett Maines knows that right now he is the only help in this outside line, so that means he's going to have to do extra pushing, if you will. Normally, we say that you got to be careful pushing, but if you're the only car up there, you got to do a little bit of overtime and trying to keep your guy out in front. Now Joe Herta arrives on scene. This outside will get 3 cars tandemed up. Now they're going to really start to roll down the super stretch. Mullihan almost able to get clear Richard Elliott, but not quite. Elliott's going to hold even into 3. Garrett Maines getting a little bit more offset of the 2 of John Mullihan, but he doesn't push. He makes sure to stay disciplined and stay off until the 2 cars are able to drop back down, and now some contact between the inside and the outside line. Mullihan trying to side draft that inside back. It works out temporarily. Devin Ray still struggling to get to the back bumper of Richard Elliott right here. Oh, and now they're going to split Mullihan, but he'll be able to dive low. So John Mullihan from McCullough Motorsports will go to the point here with 23 laps to go. John Mullihan, the 2 car. It has been a while since he's made it to victory lane here on Thursday night or Tuesday night and looking to see if he can go to victory lane. In fact, I don't know if Mullihan's been to victory lane in Tuesday Night Thunder. I know he has gotten close, and I believe he has been at least once over in PGR. But man, oh man, he'd like to get the job done over here in Tuesday Night Thunder, and it's all going to start with trying to keep your car nice and clean until we get to the end of this race. Still a green flag pit stop to go, but man, you can just see it. You can almost kind of feel it too with just when they're pushing this aggressive. You see all the little fishtailing that some of these cars are doing. That is when they're just stacking up, kind of stacking into each other, right? So you've got three guys all pushed into each other. They start to stack up, and it seems like that's what's caused already a couple wrecks here tonight, and might even cause a couple more at the rate they're going. Mullihan's going to be able to jump back up here. Garrett Maines had took the point, but he won't hold it for long as Mullihan looking to see if he can get back clear of the number 12 here. Garrett wobbled just a little bit there towards turn 3. That helps Mullihan out. He gets clear. He'll jump down as they are still all over the place through 3 and 4. That track temp continues to play havoc on the handling of these race cars. We talked about it being 120 at the start. Got up to 121, actually 122 at one point, but it has since calmed back down to 120. Look at the speeds, the dashboard speeds here, if you will, on the telemetry for the drivers as they rocket off towards turn number 1. It's going to be at 189 and just about 190 there for John Mullihan on the inside. Mullihan going to move back to the high side. Got to be careful here. This inside and third lane is getting ready to roll. Watch out. Here comes Jeff Merck and Matthew Baker for NBG Motorsports up top. Looks like they've still got a teammate too, and Michael Triscaro as he runs up there as well. And let me be the first to tell you that I am absolutely amazed that Michael Triscaro, although, well, that answers that question. I was going to say that this car is out and running as clean as it is. Well, the answer is because he's 5 laps down, so he spent a lot more time on the pits so that he could get all that damage fixed, so that he could at least stay out here and try to help his teammates. Richard Elliott really moving around now on the inside, second in line right there. Looks like he'll be able to save it as he gets down onto the double yellow line. And now back to 3x3 as they'll work off towards turn number 1 here. Garrett Maines looking to see if he can capture yet another Tuesday Night Thunder win. He has been a man and on fire as of recent. Malik Ray, though, who we saw getting involved in that last wreck, you wonder what happened to the 7 car. Well, it looks like, as it stands, he has retired from this race, as have a lot of other drivers, or at least gone a lap down. I mean, we started this race with just about 30 cars. We have less than 20 on the lead lap. Hold on to it. Richard Elliott trying to save it here. Can they check up for him? Yes, they can. What a heads-up piece of driving from Carl Baum, and now Carl Baum is going to turn him. Richard Elliott's going to go off. He shoots towards the inside wall here. Can the 0 save it? He does. But unfortunately, that's going to lose him the draft as he'll go through the grass, but he does get it back on track. What a heck of a save there from Richard Elliott. And man, just as I was getting ready to say they let him save it, it was a second contact from Carl Baum that turned Elliott around here. Let's see. So watch the first contact here, as I believe it's going to be some contact from the outside line as they get into the corner here. Watch it from the chopper view. Watch the high side and the inside here. Yeah, just Garrett Maines getting a little bit of an offset shove there from John Mullihan, turns him down, and then as Elliott's trying to save it, Carl Baum's just really all over his back bumper, and got to maybe try to give Elliott a little bit more room there to save that, but either way, does a good job holding on. And now as we go back up front, 19 laps to go. Garrett Maines still on the point. Is he going to drop low here? He's thinking about it. Jeff Merck still pushing him up top here. Jeff ducking out, trying to signal that he wants that 12 car to go to the inside of the racetrack. Now he will. This will put NBG Motorsports 1-2 up top, but they've actually got 3 of their drivers, as even though Michael Triscaro is not for position, he is still one of those 3 NBG teammates that we see in the field here tonight. Garrett Maines, John Mullihan, a lot of pushing and shoving on the inside, a lot of pushing and shoving on the outside as well. And they'll be coming to 17 laps to go this next time. So now we're going to slowly but surely start to talk about that final pit window and when do you decide to come in. Again, the fuel window is probably somewhere between 16 to 18 laps if you really had to stretch it. I think if you're playing it safe, you could realistically pit any time with 14 or less laps to go, and you're good to make it to the finish. But then you got to account for maybe trying to make sure that you're good to go for a couple overtimes if we have them. And then also, of course, making sure that you don't call the wrong strategy going by yourself or with only one other driver. You want to make sure you're going with a pretty good-sized group so that you can come out, still have draft, and still be in contention to get up there and fight for the win for the final stint of this race. Dawson Wise in the distance there, you see him. They're going to be putting him a lap down here in just a few laps. Actually, probably going to be this next lap, as Joshua McCullough was looking at that third lane there for a moment down the super stretch, but quickly thought better of it. And so as they work around the number 9 of Dawson Wise, he'll hope to drop in and see if that car can at least stick with the pack, as that is his first lap that he has lost. So currently in the lucky dog position if we were to get a caution. Still a lot of movement from a lot of the drivers and the way these cars are handling as we look off the gearbox view now. And that's looking back at Devin Ray, one of the Jack Shack teammates, currently sitting just to the inside of Ethan Eckert. But then if you go to the roll bar, this is really the cam to watch, because a lot of drivers have been struggling with the handling of these cars here tonight, more than I realistically kind of thought they were going to. And what that makes me wonder is if the track temp would have been set even higher, say to the 130s, boy, you wonder how much more they would have struggled, and if we would have been seeing even more cautions than what we've seen so far here tonight. All right, so it's now going to be just 15 laps to go when they cross the line this time. Fuel window should be about open either this lap or next lap, but I don't know if we'll see drivers necessarily pit until we get within probably about 10 laps to go. You don't want to go too early, but you also don't want to necessarily go too late. And of course, if you've got some teammates, you can try to pull some strategy in between that as well. Now, do watch for everybody to start to single file down to the inside. That's usually your best indication of when they are getting ready for that final round of green flag pit stops. And you got to be perfect. Don't get a speeding penalty coming in. Don't miss your box, and don't get a speeding penalty on the way out. We've been at Talladega for so many weeks, and pit road here at Daytona, relatively similar on entry, but very different on exit. You see that apron there through 3 and 4. It does not have banking. It is completely flat. And so that means when you're coming out of the pits, you've got to be a lot more careful on the apron. You can't just give it full gas and go from the time you leave the pits. Still 2x2 now, 14 laps to go. They're going to be coming up on 2 more lap cars here. Now, we still have a couple of big names that are hanging towards the back. Nobody else has dared to challenge and make this third lane work just yet. At least not since that last accident that we had. That'll be Landon Veliky and Logan York, the 2 damaged lap cars that will fall a lap down right here to the leaders. And so we'll see if they can potentially tuck on and extend to the back of this pack. But Garrett Maines still on the point. Jeff Merck in second as they rocket into turn number 3 and climb the banking. Matthew Baker, he's due for a win here. He's already got 1 this season. Actually, it might have been I forgot if he has 1 or 2. My point is, for Matthew Baker here, he's due for 1 here tonight, especially if he wants a chance at dethroning Garrett Maines for that regular season championship. So to do that, excuse me, not the regular season championship, but the overall championship. To do that, he would like to start by getting that regular season championship, which a win would certainly help him with here tonight. And so now, as they stay 2x2, we're going to go ahead and take what should be our final commercial break. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by 3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
We're back to Daytona International Speedway. Just 10 laps to go here in race number 5. And here we go. The final round of pit stops is underway. And look at this big group. Oh, boy. Hold your breath. Can they all get in okay? So far, so good. And it looks like they do. I was getting ready to say, you saw it over break. Jeff Merck took the lead. And by doing that, he was able to lead them down. So Jeff Merck goes from getting in a wreck early, falling a lap down, to now going to the point here at Daytona. Has to get into his box clean. A little bit of a mistake right there, but I don't think it's going to cost him too much. Jeff Merck, the call here, going to be fuel only, as it will for pretty much everybody else. And so by Merck having that advantage of leading the pack in, that little mistake doesn't cost him a chance of accidentally losing the leaders. So they'll all start to make their way out. The man that leads them out shouldn't be a surprise. Garrett Maines, the number 12, as now they all take that long single file flat apron off towards turn number 2 to get back up to full pace and eventually merge back onto the racetrack, with the question being, how do they fare out? And now I think the race would be on. Here's a group that already made a pit stop. Some of them call them Motorsports boys. And they are closing that gap up here, even if it's just briefly. We'll see if they can get it all the way back to the leaders here, and rather, if they can jump all the leaders here before they have to, or before the run dies out, I should say. And they're still going. We'll have to see what happens right here. Still 2 by 2 right now at the front, though. Daniel Eberhardt, the only car to jump out. Now Carl Bond's going to follow. Christopher McCullough is going to go 3 wide with his 2 teammates, Josh and Ken McCullough. And now, just like that, they are 3 by 3 for the lead. Christopher McCullough hoping that he's got enough of a shove to get clear. He's going to pull Joshua McCullough clear. Can they pull Ken as well? Oh, not quite. Ken McCullough Jr., not quite enough momentum. And so as Ken and Josh will split out to the lead, watch what they do here. Do they fan out 2 by 2? Yes, they do. Chris is going to stay in the middle. Will Garrett Maines push the 94? Yes, he does. Further back, Ken McCullough Jr. looks like he was able to jump down in line. And now Joe Herda pushing Joshua McCullough. You saw that car start to jump a little bit sideways, but it appears that at least for now he's able to hold on. Joshua McCullough in front with a chance to grab his first win of the season. What a momentum swing this would be, not only for Josh, but potentially for McCullough Motorsports, as they have had a couple of chances this season and things haven't worked out for them either. Chris was involved in an incident earlier tonight. Now he's back at the front. And we're going to see this constant shuffling all the way until we grab that checkered flag, because now here comes that third lane starting to develop again. Dylan Jones, Matthew Baker, and Jeff Merck. We saw Merck at the front just before this green flag cycle. He wants to get back there. They're going to have to duck in line, though, as they come up on one of the lap cars. That's Richard Elliott. Yeah, 4 wide usually doesn't work too well here at Daytona. They did not want to try it, but now they're group up again. This time, though, they're going to bring the 2 of John Mullihan. He'll jump out as now. Ooh, he's going to stack up that line. Got to think Matthew Baker is probably not too happy with that. And so Baker, will he go with this 2? Oh, Mullihan is going to hook Devin Ray. Will this bring out the caution? Doesn't yet. Devin Ray sliding back up. That might draw it. It doesn't draw a caution yet. Looks like we're going to keep this thing green. Big damage, though, on the 2 car of Devin Ray. And, oh, man, that is such an unfortunate mistake right there for Mullihan here. Let's see what happened and see who all this collected. And it looks like Jeff Merck may have unfortunately been involved in this as well. All right, so we'll back this all the way up here and then watch it from the chopper view. So you've got Mullihan up top here. Mullihan, I think, is going to try to go third. Realizes it's not there. Boy, I sure hope that's the case, because if anything else, that's not a good look. But I don't think there was any malicious intent there, if you will. I think Mullihan just goes to jump out. Was thinking Baker was going to go. Quickly realizes Baker doesn't. And as he tries to jump back in line, now he's alongside Devin Ray. So when he goes to turn back left, instead of ducking in line, he hooks the 2 dead right into the wall. And then Jeff Merck, nowhere to go. He T-bones Devin Ray. So you got to think that might give some pretty big damage to the front end of the 60 car as well. I do want to give you just one more angle of this before we go back live for John Mullihan. Watch the cockpit view here. Checks out, and yeah, that's just a mistake, I got to assume there for Mullihan, but a really tough break for Devin Ray, who was having a great night up to that point, and Jeff Merck. Don Merck had just called it in the chat, said Jeff was due for one after the Hurricane prep, and looked like he did a great job of getting up there to put himself in that spot, but fortunately, it just didn't quite work out. 4 laps to go, though, now at this 2.5-mile super speedway. Who's going to be crowned the winner here tonight at Daytona? Christopher McCullough still out in front. You've got Garrett Maines on the outside, Joshua McCullough, Daniel Eberhard, row 2, Joe Herta and Ken McCullough Jr. in row 3. A little bit smaller of a lead pack now. In fact, it looks like it only goes back to about 9 cars deep. And so if you're going to get this third lane working, you're not going to have that many cars to do it with. If they get even, they could have 3 versus 3 versus 3. And it looks like there is a lap car in this lead pack as well that could play a contribution on top of that. And nope, I take that back, actually. They do have an even 9. There are no lappers in here. So it'll be coming to 3 laps to go now. And up front, it is still McCullough Motorsports 1-2 on the bottom with Garrett Maines and Daniel Eberhard up top. And I'll tell you what, for Garrett Maines, Daniel Eberhard, we saw how good these two worked together last week. We'll see if they can do it again this week. Now, we got to get to the white flag for this race to be official. That is still a bit of a ways away, as Christopher McCullough is now going to jump to the high side. Will Garrett stick with him, or does the 12 think about splitting? Big run here. The 94 is going to have to hold on to it. That checks him up further out back. Ken McCullough Jr. is able to hold on after getting a little shot from Matthew Baker. Into turn 3. Still so far so good. No third lane as of yet. Joe Herta, I think he's trying to cool off, set himself up for this push that he knows he's going to have to make on the last lap. And they get around the last 2 lappers that it appears that they will have to deal with before this race is all said and done. Assuming, of course, we don't have a caution. There's the onboard view for Christopher McCullough. You see the wheel inputs that he has to make every time he gets a shove that sends him sideways. Joshua McCullough will now go back to the point. Does he jump up? If he's going to, he's got to go now. Looks like instead he's just trying to leave a little bit of air for Joe Herta to cool down. Down the super stretch. Remember, they've got to get to the white flag. If they wreck this lap, we could still see a caution, but if they hold on, this race could be official. Garrett Maines nowhere to go, at least not yet. He's going to push Christopher McCullough off into turn 3. Now that's going to cause a bobble. Will the 12 stick with him, or does he look 3 wide yet? And all of a sudden, another lap car quickly has appeared in the distance. That's Devin Ray. They'll be able to shoot by him without any issues. And here we go. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go at Daytona. Still 2x2 out of the travel. When's that third lane going to jump? There they go. Looks like it's going to be Ken McCullough Jr. who will be the first car out. Watch to see if Garrett Maines tries to do the same right here. If he does, he is not going to have enough time, at least not yet. Ken McCullough Jr. trying to get to the right rear for a side draft of the 12. Can't do it yet. The 2 McCullough Motorsports teammates, though, Chris and Josh, still out in front as they work their way down the super stretch. For the final time, Matthew Baker trying to push Ken McCullough Jr. to the front. Could it be a 1-2-3 for McCullough Motorsports? Oh, Garrett Maines getting pushed by Daniel Eberhard. Almost goes around, but he saves it. Now they're going to wreck out back. They're piling him up out back. Who sneaks through to win the race? It looks like it's going to be the 94 of Christopher McCullough. He gets through, keeps it clean, and how about this? Christopher McCullough, first win of the season. McCullough Motorsports finally able to go to victory lane. Chris had a lot of bad luck throughout the season, but no more as he gets the job done here tonight. And what a job that was for Christopher McCullough to bring home the win here tonight. We'll have to go back and look at that finish. But before we do, I do want to take a look at the finishing results here tonight, as we still are waiting for a couple cars to cross the start-finish line here. Major damage to quite a few of them. But Christopher McCullough, I mean, man, he had to fend off some of the best in the business there those last couple laps, but he found a way to do it. And it pays off here tonight. So Christopher McCullough is your race winner as he'll burn it down in front of the virtual grandstands. Garrett Maines brings home 2nd, Matthew Baker in 3rd. Ken McCullough Jr. back in 4th with Ethan Eckert in 5th. Joe Herta 6th, Evan Carlbon in 7th, with Daniel Eberhard back in 8th, Joshua McCullough in 9th, and Jeff Merck rounding out your top 10. John Mullihan finishes in 11th, Steve Sizemore in 12th, with Brock Westmoreland back in 13th. And then it's Jimmy Emos in 14th, Christopher Carter 15th, Richard Elliott 16th with Devin Ray in 17th, Landon Velicki back in 18th, and rounding out the top 20 here tonight, it's going to be Logan York and Michael Triscaro. Mike Davenport finishes 21st, Dylan Jones 22nd, Dawson Wise back in 23rd with Jared Haynes 24th, Malik Ray 25th, Matt Lee in 26th with Angel Navarro in 27th as he will round out your field here tonight. All right, before we go grab your top 3 for interviews here, let's go back and look at this finish one more time because this was some wild stuff, especially in 3 and 4 where it looked like they were going to keep it together and everybody was going to keep it clean, but eventually something gave here, and let's see exactly where it did. First off, watch this save for Garrett Maines. I mean, this is one of the most wicked saves that I have seen in a while. Watch these front tires. This will tell you just how sideways he was. Gets a push from Eberhardt, and look at that. And you can actually see him sawing on the wheel a little bit too. Point is, though, Garrett's able to hold on here, and then further back, does Eberhardt get into Joshua McCullough, or does Josh start to come up? Looks like they're okay there. And then, ooh, Eberhardt looks like starts to creep down, but I wonder if there was a little bit of netcode between these two right here. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what transpired there. If Eberhardt was looking for a little error, if he gets doored from up top. Let's see. Well, we might have got doored from up top a little bit. That may have been what that was, a little bit of netcode from up top. That's hard to tell. That's really, really hard to tell pretty much with any way that it happened here. Let's see. That might have been what it was. It's hard to call, but either way, it shoots the 90 down a little bit, and then it sparks a little bit of left rear netcode, or excuse me, left front right rear netcode, which sends Joshua McCullough around. And then Garrett Maines escapes with Christopher McCullough, but everybody else here pretty much going to get collected in this one, as it was just a mad dash through. Looks like Baker, though, did a pretty good job of sneaking through it. That's how he was able to hang on to a podium. So we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona. All right, going to start first tonight with your race winner from McCullough Motorsports. It's Christopher McCullough. Chris, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy. And it looks like Chris cannot hear us right now. I know exactly why, so give me just a minute to get that fixed up here for Chris, and then he should be able to hear us. All right, there we go. Hey, Christopher McCullough. Chris, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I gotcha.
Well, man, you do it. You finally get the job done. It's been nothing but bad luck over the season. You had some bad luck here tonight, but how did you manage to come back? I mean, not just you, but McCullough Motorsports as a whole. You had pretty much you and all your teammates up there at the front near the end, and it pays off as Joshua McCullough was able to hold you out in front there just about until the start-finish line.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little luck go my way. I've been missing that's for sure. But, yeah, the whole team had a good night. Just kind of got lucky, missed some of them big wrecks. Just barely missed a couple of them, but you got to have a little luck to go along with it, that's for sure.
Well, we've seen a lot of guys on hot streaks recently, and kind of the first driver to have a little bit of a breakout win here tonight. Now that you got that win under your belt, do you feel like this changes the momentum for you and the rest of the team going forward?
Well, it's definitely a confidence booster, and it's definitely good for my, mental state and my morale. Momentum is a real thing, so we'll try to keep it going and see how it all pans out.
Sounds like a plan. Well, hey, Chris, before we let you head out here tonight to celebrate your first win of the season, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I got to thank my team, McCullough Motorsports. I got to thank all these drivers we race with every week. There's usually some hard feelings every now and then, but we usually have some good racing. Got to thank Ron for putting up with us all. And thank you for broadcasting.
And thank you for talking to us. Chris, congrats on the win. Go celebrate, and we'll see you hopefully next week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher here tonight, Garrett Maines. Garrett, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you roll through another week with another podium finish. Man, looked like that was going to be close between you and Chris, but tell us a little bit about the push in there that you were getting from Eberhardt coming through 3 and 4. I mean, it looked like you had to make a couple of ridiculous saves to hold on to that race car.
Oh, I thought we were gone. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm kind of lucky that I didn't slide down into the guys below. I mean, I had the wheel upside down trying to hold on to that. I didn't lift because I knew if I hit the brakes, it was going to get worse, but Oh man, just very lucky to survive the whole crash. I mean, when he came up into my door, it pushed me straight up the track instead of turning me sideways. So, I'll take it. I guess I got away with one there. I felt like I had an opportunity to win that when Chris changed lanes. He went a little too far up, and I could have split the middle, but I did not think that was going to end well for anybody. I was like, big picture, just going to finish in the top 3, hopefully. So, I'll take that. It's what we need. We need solid points nights. I feel like we have a pretty comfortable lead. Just gotta, keep bringing it home like this.
Yeah, the big picture mindset certainly paid off there, especially at the end. Now, we saw a bit of a hotter track temp than usual here tonight, and it looked like a lot of people were all over the place. How did it feel from your perspective in the car? Could you feel a difference at this track from what we had last week?
I don't know. I felt like it was a lot of fun. I mean, this car, people complain about the way it pushes, but I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a bit of a wobble every time you get a hit, but I mean, I was getting freaking slam drafted in the lead, and you can just got to hang on to the thing. I don't know. I enjoy it. I think you get the higher track temps, it takes a little bit of tire into consideration. You can play a little bit of strategy, but you can also get out there and just wheel the thing and see what you got. So I think it made for a good race. I mean, you could see the top line come and go every once in a while. Just felt like the front row was in pretty good control most of the time. It's hard to make something work up there. So I don't know. It was nice to be nice and organized up front for the majority of that, and just ahead of the wrecks.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Garrett, before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate another podium, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Scott at MCU Body. Thank you to Linux, and also big thank you to the guys at Ryko Performance. Really unfortunate, we had a great car tonight in the Contender Series and only got to show up for about 11 laps. So hopefully at Homestead I'll be able to actually showcase all the hard work that they did. Just not tonight, but I'll take it.
All right, and thank you for talking to us, Garrett. Congrats on the second place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, now that's going to bring us to your third place finisher, Matthew Baker. Baker, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Well, you bring home a good third place finish here tonight, and boy, when you saw that last wreck, did you think you were initially going to make it through it?
Yeah, no, I didn't think I was making it through it. I mean, every other damn wreck I was in, I think the Daytona set with the Xfinity cars just it's tough to drive. The set's not as good as the Talladega set, and it's a lot close quarters racing. So if there's any bump mistakes, it's exemplified, and you saw it tonight. So hopefully we can figure it out here at Daytona. Maybe get a setup update, or just understand that you can't push in the corners or in the tri-oval. So, but I got through it, got lucky, kept my foot in it. My wheel was at 4 o'clock for the last 20 laps of that run, that green flag stop and everything. I had broken my right front toe link or something had happened. I think I knocked the toe out whenever Ethan came down into me. Didn't have any other damage on the car, so was able to keep pace. So it just lucky for sure. Finally get a luck race that went my way. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, you had some luck tonight. Unfortunately, though, for your teammates, not quite the same boat. Now, we saw Jeff Merck and Michael Triscaro helping you out there for a little bit, but the big question I had for you here tonight is, you keep racking together these good finishes. Is there anything else that you can really do to try to help the team as a whole as we continue to close in on the playoffs?
No, it's good finishes for me. That's all that matters for me to help the team. But to help the team out fully, is trying to get Merck and trying to get Triscaro into victory lane. It's just hard to do that whenever, they're getting wrecked every week. I mean, every week. So it's a bummer for sure. Hopefully the luck turns around, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Baker, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just thanks to Coasting Thunder, MBG Motorsports, Baker & Son Construction, Martin Sports, Nico with the paint. Excited for Thursday. We're going to put on some heat racing for PGR, so look out for that. Try and clean up the racing a little bit, have a little bit more fun. I want to, extend my prayers and thoughts to everyone in Florida, here in South Florida. Towards the middle part of Florida, you got Merck, Navarro, Basin. I mean, a ton of people that are in Florida, myself included, you. Hopefully we can, hunker down, as all the weather channels say, and you know that all too well. to brave this storm. It's a pretty scary storm coming our way, and we just hope everyone's prepared for it, and we'll be praying for them. And if anyone needs help, or we have a driver in need, you know, what we did for Ward last week, we could do the same thing again to help my brother in need. So we'll just be praying for everyone. Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Baker, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the third place finish. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thanks, brother. You too.
All right, there you go. So that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. But again, another thriller here in Tuesday Night Thunder. Garrett Maines comes so close to getting to the win, but instead it goes to Christopher McCullough. All right, that's going to be it for me tonight here on PGR eSports. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, make sure you stay safe through the storm, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Have a good night.